spring break was about 3 weeks ago, and I went on a mission trip to the Dominican Republic. We landed at the airport, we got on a bus, we took 3 hours of going up and over hills out to the very middle of the island. We were in this tiny town called Ato Viejo, and we were there for Ash Wednesday, which was kind of cool. So we get there in the Ash Wednesday Mass, and they're doing it in Spanish, and I can't understand most of it. And the Ash Wednesday Mass wasn't exactly a nice Mass. It was hot and sweaty and compact, and like people saying bad. I looked around me at the 100 or so people crammed with me into this tiny little church. You know, these are people that live in mud-walled houses with tin roofs, and they don't really have much. And we're all compact in this one church, singing way too off-key for anything, and I look around and I thought to myself, these are the people getting into heaven. I'm Steve the missionary, and in the Dominican Republic, on Ash Wednesday, the ashes are white because the people's skin is so dark. Happy Feast of the Annunciation, when the angel told Mary that she was going to give birth to Jesus. You know, it's a celebration of when God was, for a minute or so, only one cell big. So back at the school I graduated from, we called these trips alternative breaks, mostly so we could show off to other people that like what we do is like different than what you guys do over spring break. Yeah, it's a really good alternative to the way you guys spend your spring break. I drank a lot of café there. Like, you guys call it coffee, but they call it café, and they grow it on a finca in the campo. And this stuff is good, don't get me wrong. It's just like, it's totally different out there, you know? We spent our week with families that had dirt floors and tin roofs, no running water, and sporadic electricity if they were lucky. We would mix and pour concrete, so at least these families would have a concrete floor. It's way more sanitary than a dirt floor, and it's a lot cooler in the summer. It's a very basic human need. We were honored with a very small window into these people's lives. Some people were happy to see us, and we saw them many days in a row, and some of us just made it very obvious that we were foreigners. Had better families than others. Some people had better jobs than others. Some people were richer than others. Some people were holier than others. After a few days driving back and forth among dry farmland and people walking where they needed to go, I started to notice something. Planting and reaping, walking to get water, tax collecting, distrusting foreigners. These are all the realities of the people who live in the poor corners of the Dominican Republic. These are all things that Jesus talked about all the time. These are essentially the people that Jesus spoke to first. They're the people that Jesus spoke to most obviously, most mercifully, and most compassionately. Good news of Jesus is spoken with the accent of the poor. The rest of us just kind of needed to learn it as a second language. The poor, the marginalized, the outcast, heaven belongs to these people. If I get in, it's as an invited guest or an adopted son. And this, I guess, is part of like the real 3 reasons why it's good to go on these short-term mission trips. These things aren't going to solve world poverty, and if you do it wrong, they're going to cause more harm than good, but they're still good to do. So, 3 reasons why you should do it. To actually alleviate suffering. There are people who are suffering in the world because they don't have concrete floors. We are able to get them concrete floors. It's not just for us not to do that. This world is really good at separating the rich from the poor and like making sure that the two don't mix, but that's so bad. We actually need to treat each other like brothers and sisters, and this can kind of help us do that. That's where Jesus said he was. I don't know about you, but I need to meet Jesus more often. The moral of today's story is meet Jesus and love each other, especially when each other is poor. Watching, like, share, comment, reply, do things, email me, whatever. And next week for an update on Lentbeard 2014. And now you get to see me drop the camera. Okay. All right.